anything from the commissioner's seats, so we probably get rolling together.
Right on time.
That went early, didn't it?
Minute early.
You got a minute yet.
What did the city commission do with the rezoning of that property? They allowed it, I think, didn't they?
Not if I can help it. I have some pictures of trees to show you later. I'm afraid one of my trees is going to die.
All right, we're good whenever you are.
All right, we'll call the meeting to order. We have a quorum. There's 5 out of 6 members present. Are there any additions or changes to the regular agenda?
Nope, no changes.
Is there a motion to approve that?
I move to approve the agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
All right, it's been moved and seconded to approve the regular agenda. All those in favor say aye. Aye. The May 28th, 2024 Planning and Zoning meeting minutes. Has everyone had a chance to review those? Are there any changes or corrections that you see?
Move to approve the meeting minutes.
It's
Second.
moved and seconded to approve the meeting minutes from the May 28th Planning and Zoning Commission meeting. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Number 4, we have the Clemson edition of plat and a public hearing, discussion, and action. Jace.
So, Commissioners, the application in front of you tonight is a request for a subdivision of approximately 89.78 acres into 3 total lots. The property is currently within Horace city limits and is zoned agriculturally. The property owners filed an application for registration of cemetery with the North Dakota Department of Health back in 2004. With the intention of separating the existing grave sites from the larger agricultural field. The application for that registration was approved back in September 2004. However, the survey work splitting the cemetery lot was never officially recorded with Cass County. No further land use actions were taken on this property. No new roadways or pathways are proposed with this application. However, new right-of-way for the existing stretch of 81st Street as well as additional right-of-way for 100th Avenue have been proposed to be provided as a part of this subdivision request. The applicant has provided a complete application for the subdivision of the property. The intent of this application is 100% correctional in nature. The applicant's proposing to subdivide into 3 lots. With the proposed plat, they are proposing to correct a property line that currently runs through the rear of an existing residence and complete the separation of the cemetery from the agricultural field, which was started back in 2004. The remainder of property, which is identified as Lot 2, Block 2, within this plat, will remain an 83.96 acre agricultural field. The existing uses on the 2 properties are currently permitted within the agricultural zoning district. Horace City Code 4-6.10 states a plat shall not be approved unless it is located in a zoning district that allows the proposed development, complies with the comprehensive plan, and complies with all other applicable requirements of this code. Staff would note that parcel 150000002660080, and I'll pull up a map to show you specifically which one we're talking about, which would be this residential lot up here. As it currently sits within the ordinance, falls severely short of the 10-acre minimum for residential uses within the agricultural zoning district classification. The proposed lot, which in the plat is Lot 1, Block 1, which would be the correction of that lot, is larger, but still it falls short of that. With that being said, though, the current location of 81st Street South, which, as you can see when we did the Ness's edition last time, dedicated portion of that right of way, so there will be existing right of way that will continue through here. So it's physically impossible to meet that 10-acre minimum because of the location of 81st Street that exists there. And additionally, this plat is not for development purposes, which is indicated in the letter of our statement of future services. They don't have any intention of developing this property whatsoever at this point. So I don't think we necessarily look at this as in terms of future development. This is 100% corrective, and staff doesn't encourage the prolongation of a non-conforming use. However, with the corrective nature of this proposed plat, the existing conditions that make it unrealistic to achieve a conforming ag lot. I would note with that, the applicant should know regardless whether this plat is approved or not, the parcel as it exists today or as it is Lot 1, Block 1, within the proposed plat and the single-family home are/would be considered non-conforming due to the lot size and setbacks of the existing structure and will not be permitted to be improved or expanded upon unless that property is rezoned. In this staff report, I did put a recommendation of a condition for the applicant to submit a rezone application prior to recordation. Now, this is just kind of a starting point. If the Planning and Zoning Commission view this as just a lot that will exist in perpetuity until someone else wants to do something with it, that condition can be removed. But I would just note that this would be considered non-conforming parcel, and additional expansions into that home would be unachievable unless it's rezoned. With that, I guess staff does have a recommendation of approval for the Clementon addition with the condition that I had mentioned about a rezone application. However, staff's open to further discussion of if that is needed or warranted with this application or not. And we do have a representative from Moore Engineering here tonight to provide any more comments on this application, as well as some residents from the area as well. So whenever you're ready to open the public hearing, I think we should be good to go.
All right. We are going to open the public hearing for the Clemson edition. Did you want to go first? Or anything to add? Question?
So it's going to stay residential?
Correct, yeah, nothing with the zoning district is proposed to change at this time. So they're keeping it all, technically the zoning of the property is agricultural through both of those properties, but there is no development proposed with this application.
I think the reason for moving the lot line is it kind of runs through their house,
Yeah,
right?
I can-
It's a cleanup plat. It's,
The current lot line runs through their
yeah,
house.
the current lot lines are probably from the 30s or 20s or whenever it was originally marked out. And so it's
We'll see how close we can
basically,
get, but
you can see, and these aren't always 100% accurate, but you can see where it kind of sits in relation to everything.
I'll
So it's
draw
kind
it.
of clean
Draw it.
everything, I'll plat that right away and then get the cemetery on its own lot.
thank you, Natalie.
I'll just admit, what's the motivation? I guess, maybe I'm just not following. Like, what's the motivation to make the change? Like, what's the consequences of leaving it as it is? I guess.
So right now, if they ever were to sell the house,
Mm-hmm.
it's not a
Conforming.
well, not conforming, it's not necessarily a legal parcel. You have a property line, this orange line is running through the property, so
Mm-hmm.
I don't think it would clear title in this sense.
Like, they can't sell the whole thing because of this? Is that the problem?
They could sell the whole thing if they chose to sell the whole
Oh,
thing.
yeah, okay, so the motivation to be able to potentially sell it.
Right, if they
In the
were looking to
future.
just sell off,
Just a part
off
of
the
it.
house and then hold
Right.
on to the field or vice versa. Right
Mhm.
now, at this point, I don't believe it would clear title because you have legal descriptions that overlap or cross existing parcels.
So it's a cleanup of property lines.
Yeah,
or
this
lot
is
lines.
essentially there was a process started for the existing cemetery here back in 2004 that the survey work was never completed. So it's twofold. It separate the cemetery from the agricultural field, which having a cemetery obviously has its own benefits in terms of tax purposes, and then clean up the residential lot that currently has a property line running through the back of the existing house. Can I show where the lot line is moving to? Yeah.
Well, it's through the house now, where did you move it?
I guess I didn't move it, but the applicant is proposing to move it. Sorry.
Just basically that south line. basically all the way to the south there where it ties in. If you go back to the JSO map, it basically, I think it just goes down to that south lot line, so if you almost. Ladies and gentlemen,
Kinda hard to see.
Basically extend that down to there and just turn that part into that is kind of what is going on there, and that this road would be extended up to.
Does he own that anyway, right? They own that anyway? That's
Yeah.
the orange square.
Yeah,
Yep.
So I own that corner to that.
yeah, so previously,
So I own
this
the
egg,
driveway.
this egg lot went, just did a weird little L that kind of went through here. So they're bringing this property line for this house all the way down to here. It's not affecting this part, it's not moving anything on this property at all. It's just bringing this property line down here, dedicating that right of way. And then once I get rid of that,
And
And
there
split
is an
this.
access easement that's proposed across where that
Driveway is.
driveway is, if you look at the plat.
And I might not do that.
yeah, this little stretch here to account for the access that runs through the backside of their property.
But they're allowed to use that access today?
Well, we've always let them, but
Okay,
There is no easement?
there's just no easement.
okay. So it's gonna immaterial with the change then, right? Does this change of plat affect, if the easement is not granted, it doesn't really matter if they move the line or not? Is that what I can understand? Does that make sense?
The easement, I think, is there because that access has been utilized for a while, but this property realistically could access off 81st that exists there as well. So it's not like
Mhm.
you're eliminating access to that property.
So is the easement for that little sliver of area, that's already there? Or you're saying it's
I
not
don't
there?
believe the easement is there, but the sliver of driveway that has been utilized through this loop exists already.
Okay.
We just don't know what's coming, so we're not so excited about giving an easement. Yeah, I own the driveway.
May I ask a question?
Yeah.
You said you're not sure of what's coming. What in particular are you concerned with in that area?
Well, I don't know. I mean, if they're gonna build a home, I don't wanna, they'll have to put their own driveway in, I'm guessing. I guess I don't know, but, I mean, the Clemenses and the Smiths were fine because they barely lived there, so.
So,
It's no big deal, but. I
So will
just
the
don't
lo-
know the next owner,
will
Yeah, we
the,
talked to a lawyer on that, and they said, not a good idea to give an easement.
so will the lot line go away that goes through the house?
Basically, it would be
It's
stretched down to their
shifted down, so
existing
then
southern
that
lot.
lot goes away entirely then?
Which lot?
The south, if it's south, the one
That
below
little
the
square.
house? Are they separated now as lots?
That square is part of the big egg field across the road.
Yeah.
Oh, it is,
And
okay.
even you, I think, right, not the other way around. We're on the same here.
I'm very confused.
So minus this right away.
Is there any portion of the driveway that would, is the driveway owned by two separate people?
Yes, but I own the whole, yeah, you can see the line. Yeah. He owns part of that.
He just owns that little corner.
That blue thing
Yeah.
that you just had there?
That's the new lot, like that is what the new lot will end up looking like. The part they're talking about, apologize with the.
Kind of cuts across the driveway.
So like all the buildings to the west are yours, but the
Yeah.
house is theirs?
Yeah,
Wow.
they just have that little house.
It's easier to see the lot lines if I don't have the imagery, but it's harder to see what's available. So you can see, so this is all owned by them, and then this is part of that other plat.
Well, it's a good thing the Hatfields and McCoys don't live there.
And the ag
No,
field,
they've been
and
great.
the,
I don't have a problem.
and they own the
No,
ag
we've
field
been
too?
there with them for over 30 years.
Yes.
Okay.
So we don't have a problem with that.
Marie J. Smith
Okay.
Living Trust owns these two properties. and
You just don't
Kent
feel
and
comfortable
Sylvia
giving the
own
easement,
We just
because
don't
it's not a
know
good,
what's coming,
yeah,
you know.
right.
Okay. And so we're gonna split this into 3 different,
So here, I can draw
Lots
this
now?
to show you how much easier or what this is looking like. So it's 2 lots currently that they own.
yeah,
How did that end up that
So
way?
this one minus the right-of-way dedication.
yeah.
Ends up looking something like that.
Right, so those 2 turn into 1, or that, actually, that's part of the second, part of the ag lot now,
It's taking part of the ag lot and
Right.
adding it to the
residential lot.
To the
Suburban.
home lot, 'cause it's not residential, but
Right.
And then-
adding it to the home lot and then also marking out the cemetery as its own lot. So they own all these properties. It's basically a realigning so that it makes more sense with what's actually there.
Right, defining lot lines.
Very,
Correct.
kind of.
So they own,
Okay.
this will be the, whatever the new lot based on the proposed plus roughly the cemetery lot, and then this remaining 83 some odd acres.
They'll
Right.
also put the right of way in from 81st all the way up to 100th as well.
Yeah, it'll finish the right of way too.
So then, the one that the house is on, that'll become suburban lot then, correct?
Well, it was still, there's no zoning application proposed, so currently it
Well,
is
Just
still-
cleaning up lot lines.
Correct, it's still ag. They have
Okay,
not,
'cause it's farm.
Did you mention a
if they
10-acre
wanted
limit?
to-
Was that the concern of adjusting these, that it can't be
so
considered an ag residential lot now because it's not 10 acres?
regardless of if you approve this or not,
Mhm.
the property as it sits today does not meet the ag,
Mhm.
underlying ag, because it's not 10 acres, we have a 10-acre minimum for residential ag.
Mhm.
However, this one has a physical barrier with the alignment of 81st that has gone through here. And I'll draw that in orange, maybe.
Hmm.
That right away for 81st will forever, no matter what you zone the property, will forever cut that property down to being that size. So in terms of conforming, the property is not.
And that right-of-way does not exist today,
What's
or
that?
does? That right-of-way exists today?
Statutorily, it does.
Okay.
And that's why in the plat, they're only proposing it as 66 feet, because that's what state statute requires for roads that have been used as roads forever. So it was the same when the Nest addition came through last year. They put their portion of right of way, and then as these properties would replat or do anything in the future, that right of way for 81st would continue down as that alignment is continued. And that's state statute they have. So this lot, as it exists today, no matter what you do, that right of way is going to exist. And it's unable to expand. So at some point, if they want to ever improve that property or expand onto the house, they would have to come back and rezone that property. But it's existed in its current fashion for a while now.
What does the easement, I mean, is the easement relevant here, out of curiosity? Like, what is the, I understand there's concern there, but is it,
And I guess to do that, we'd have to figure out the long-term history of what that roadway is. I mean, if that easement's not relevant, it kind of just goes a two-way street, is the Nesses have granted access to that, however, a portion of that driveway also runs through their property. So if there's not an access easement, that driveway may have to be realigned to not exist on that property either. The easement is there, I think, for protections for both sides. If there's a driveway on someone else's property that may or may not be able to be there, and assuring access for everybody.
I'm just wondering, does our approval condone or reject an easement? I guess, is it tied together? That it has to come with the expectation of an easement? Or can it be approved without an easement, is maybe what I'm trying
It
to
can
ask.
be approved without an easement, but people should know as well that if you have a portion of your driveway across someone else's lot, that doesn't
Yeah.
ensure the long-term success of your driveway either.
Right.
Like, is it something that it would be, that they have to agree to build a new driveway to as a conditional approval?
Isn't that
For
kind of the
example?
owner's
They would-
issue, though?
Yeah, I mean, they would
Yeah.
have to
It's not
figure,
Right.
really
so,
our
Right, that's what I'm trying to figure out, if it's
Yeah.
something we need to worry about.
So then that'd be a civil matter.
yeah, because right now you have a driveway that is owned by the Nesses that crosses the Murray J. Smith property. So if they don't want to do an access easement, maybe it continues as a handshake deal for however long, but if the new neighbors show up and the Nesses and the new neighbors don't
Mhm.
see eye to eye, then yeah, it would become a civil matter of, does that driveway have to move, or does the handshake deal for access continue down the road?
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem with redoing the lot lines. It's just that property now is out of compliance and still will be out of compliance. And it's gonna remain zoned as ag, and it's not gonna be suburban, so it's gonna be taxed at different rates.
It will still be zoned, or unless it's, you can see exactly what it is taxed at. This is the exact moment, but it is receiving a residential tax.
Okay,
This is $0 for ag, so assessors are still zoned or assessing it residential.
that's, okay.
But we could put a condition that they would have to rezone if they made any changes or improvements to the
Correct.
property. Or
Yep.
what'd you say?
Yep.
before?
Right now,
It
I
has to
have
happen
this
anyways, I think.
before the plat is recorded to continue the process. However, like I said, with the corrective nature, I don't know if they know their long-term plans for it either. And so, maybe someone is fine buying it exactly how it is and it will remain in perpetuity as it is, or if they want to do any modifications at that point, it would need to be rezoned as well. So there's a couple ways to do it. I kind of have it listed as the strictest, most immediate option, but I guess your decision on what you guys would like.
Well, that would force them to rezone and bring it up to compliance, I guess.
Great.
Any other questions?
I have a question, just so I can inform the client. So if you guys move forward with, if they want to make any improvements, they have to rezone.
Correct.
If that's the option, would that include a driveway, or is that just a structural adjustment? Like, is it tied to like a building permit, or let's just say they wanted to put their own driveway in because concerns or whatever, could they do that without a rezone?
Most likely not, with the state of that it is in terms of non-conforming, then we have to look at what prolongs the life of that use in essentially an illegal lot.
So any improvements to the property,
Basically,
not
yes.
just to the structure?
Mhm.
Okay, just so I can.
Yeah, you'd have to
just
look
so I
at it
can-
as
Mhm.
prolongation of the use in that sense.
Right.
Okay.
Any other questions? Anybody else? I'm gonna close the public hearing. Any other discussion from up here? Questions? Otherwise, we'll entertain a motion. If anyone's ready to do that.
I guess I'm wondering about the rezone application recommendation, is that the recommendation for them to convert it to a suburban? Is that the proposed?
Yeah, so if they would make any changes, then they would have to do the rezone at that time. Or we could make
He
it
doesn't-
so that they would have to fulfill a rezone application before the plat is recorded. So that would even force them to do it faster, right?
Is that what's being proposed?
Yeah, there's a couple ways to do it, of just no improvements can be done to the site until the rezones, or rezone prior to, or not even go through the process, but submit the application prior to.
And the improvements is defined as what percentage? Is it?
So this one's a little different. So there's legal non-conforming that has a certain percentage of improvement that is done, and then there's just straight non-conforming, which this one will fall under straight non-conforming, and essentially any improvement to it, putting a driveway in, something that would be considered prolongation of that use would not be permitted unless it was within a compliance zone at that point. So there's kind of two classifications of non-conforming, and this falls under the more stricter version of that.
Like a fence or?
Yeah, it's basically, the property as it is today would continue until that property has it, or would exist until it is rezoned before it could be modified.
Okay.
So this motion would basically say that they can replat, but they have to also rezone that residential lot, and they can leave the rest as ag. Period.
Essentially, yeah. And then whatever timing you guys would see fit. And I don't know if you've talked to the applicants. I know we've had some conversations about potential rezone. And just at this point, we haven't really discussed, future plans, but.
To be perfectly honest, I was not involved with any of the, I live in the neighborhood, they wanted someone here at the meeting for the public hearing tonight.
Gotcha. So you're not. on, like,
I actually got a pretty good deep dive, and I know what's going on.
Okay.
And I understand what's going on here, but it was mainly, if there were any major questions, issues,
Right.
Extra requirements, we have to go back to the client. So I'm not privy to any conversations
Okay.
with them.
So I guess one thing to bring back to the client would be, this is a recommendation, so if they do have concern with what staff's recommending in planning and zoning, like obviously then there's city council.
What does go into a rezoning application here?
An
Is it just-
application that gets kind of filed, and then there's some, there's a series of check marks within the ordinance that they have to kind of answer or provide a narrative that there's not, impactful or detrimental impact to the adjacent neighbors. It's in conformance with the comp plan.
Does that have to come back to this?
It would, yeah, once you
Okay.
apply. So it would go back through kind of the public hearing process. Neighbors would get the same types of letters that they got with this application as well.
Okay.
Do you see any issues with the rezone to that suburban? Maybe
Yeah.
that analysis hasn't been done, I'm just curious.
We got suburban tag with the comp plan right next to it. We just did a rezone for the Nesses last year, I believe, was the last year that we did that, to a similar, I think, SR2 zoning district. So in terms of like kind of the spot zone, I know I'm not concerned. It's directly adjacent to similar uses within that district as well. And I guess that also, provides the assurance for residents at that point that, A, they'll go through a public hearing for any rezone they want to do or any additional land use items they need to do. And B, if it's suburban, it's in conformance with pretty much that entire neighborhood of folks over there.
You had a question back here?
Yeah, I'm just wondering how they arrived at that lot line that went through the driveway.
Oh, I wouldn't even begin to know where. If this was done back in the 80s, technology back then of platting lot lines and survey
Yeah,
work.
but you originally started out with it going through the house, and then they redo it, and it ended up, you can see where it ends up on the one point, right at the corner of the driveway, but then it squares off and goes right through the driveway and then back onto that property.
It actually runs with 100th Avenue. That angle's the same as 100th Avenue, where that spot is to this spot.
Yeah, but why is the one in the driveway?
Because the driveway's crooked compared to 100th Avenue.
And they own the land where the driveway just kind of crosses the lot lines, right?
Right.
Yeah, they
Yeah,
own,
they
this
own-
is
Yeah,
all
the-
one.
So
We're
they
not
own
gaining
that.
any land here. This is
No.
just a reconfiguration of.
And I'm not losing any.
Yeah, these are
Yep.
existing lot lines from,
Probably just people not following any kind of zoning or
and
anything.
a lot of these that were
Back in the
done out
day.
here were done as
Yeah,
auditor
this is-
lots.
This isn't a Horace specific thing.
Right.
There's stuff like this all over everywhere.
I have 4 parcels for one lot, and it's confusing. I don't know why it's the way it is, but it is.
We could just look it up.
Okay.
Probably an old wagon track that they just put a road over, so.
But you wanna know why it's like that? Is the story I heard?
What?
Is they put them at the post office in the wrong township,
Hmm,
so they put the road around the post office.
I believe it.
That's the story I heard
Thousands of years ago.
back in the 20s, trustees.
Are there any other questions up here? All right, does anyone want to make a motion?
I would move to approve the adjustment of lot lines. And prior to any improvements, our rezoning application will have to be filed prior to any improvements for the non-conforming ag lot.
So would amendment be that it has to be rezoned, not that it would only be rezoned in?
We'll have to do an application in order to rezone anyway.
Okay.
All right, Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right, motion's been made and seconded. You have all that down, Jake?
Yeah, no rezone, so we're gonna modify the recommended condition to be just prior to any additional.
Prior to
Yeah.
any rezoning applications.
All right, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, none. Motion carries.
I'm sorry, who was the second on that?
Chad.
Yeah.
Great. Any other items to discuss or announcements?
No, I don't have anything update wise.
Is there a motion to adjourn?
Motion to adjourn.
Okay, you second?
Sure.
Okay, all those in favor say aye.
All right.
All right, meeting adjourned.
Yes.